Well, as the Queen prepares to farewell her husband of 73 years at Windsor Castle, Princes William and Harry will be kept apart when they say goodbye to their grandfather.
For more, we welcome royal commentator Angela Mollard and the estranged brothers, now estranged, I guess you could say. Does it speak volumes, the fact that they are going to be separated in their relationship right now?
I think it's actually really sad, the fact that they're going to be walking along this 8-minute procession to St George's Chapel, separated by Peter Phillips, their cousin. They're not going to be side by side. We know that, it's the Queen that's designed it this way. It stops speculation, but I think a lot of people looking on will remember the day that these boys walked behind their mother's funeral and will see the distance and the sadness in that relationship as it's deteriorated over the years.
But entirely appropriate that he's there. What's the other?
Peter Phillips. Peter Phillips. Oh, absolutely. And of course he's split from his wife, so he doesn't have his supporter there. Yeah. So you can sort of
cousins, and it was his grandfather too.
Absolutely. So, yes. I think it's just the order, Kylie, not the fact that who's in that procession. It's just the fact. And then obviously they split off when they come into the church, and they're seated in pairs. So William will go with Peter, and Harry, we're told, will go with another person behind him, Earl Snowdon. So that's how they'll sit in the church.
Right. Buckingham Palace spokesman has shut down speculation, saying this is a funeral. We are not going to be drawn into perceptions and drama. That is the quote from them.
They are so on the front foot with this. Look, I think the fact that after the Oprah interview they had to scramble to come up with a response, I think the Queen very much wants this day to be focused on her husband and the memory of her husband. And if we get any surprises on the day, that's what people will be covering by actually talking about it beforehand, for showing the procession. I mean, this is extraordinary. I covered Diana's funeral. We didn't get this level of detail. I think there's a few reasons why. There's COVID, there's obviously limited numbers, but we're getting the sort of detail that I've never seen before at a funeral, and I think it's specifically for that purpose, to take away all the speculation and sort of skullduggery beforehand.
Limited guest list. There have been some left off, and one particular royal snub.
That's Fergie. So Prince Andrew's former wife, they still live together, obviously. Look, there are only 30 people allowed there, and there are other former spouses that aren't there. As I said, Earl Snowdon's wife will not be there. They separated. Peter Phillips's wife, Autumn, will not be there. So it's a very pared down list. There are some, but obviously the main people have their partners there. But it's a list that reflects the people that really meant something to the Duke, and let's just say Fergie didn't mean a lot to him.
Can we talk about just how fabulous this Land Rover is?
Oh, isn't it?
The specially designed Land Rover that will carry the hearse, the coffin.
16 years in the making, painted military green. We know he loves Land Rovers. In fact, the head of Land Rover has talked about how he used to come to the factory. He was very interested in the engineering and mechanics. Everything has been fitted out. There's special things to hold the coffin in place. How lovely that you can think about something, but the detail in it, I think it's wonderful. It's beautiful. Also, the thought that we will be able to, viewing this, be able to see the coffin, I think is lovely. But wow, wonderful. How wonderful to be able to plan so well.
It's a lovely insight into the man that was, and obviously the planning that's gone into it, but also his own taste and what he wanted to be reflected as he left the earth.
You're absolutely right. It's not just about the man who was in the royal family, it's about the man who was in the military. Of course, it's military green. His naval career is going to be remembered with the bugle post, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of him.
Been hands-on with it as well.
The Queen worked as a mechanic too.
Yes, exactly, during the war. Yeah, that's right.
She's quite good at fixing a Land Rover.
Yes.
Speaking of the Queen, she'll be sitting by herself, which is such a sad state of affairs.
I know. I know. We think this is sad. Obviously, everyone will be socially distanced at this funeral, but you have to wonder. This is a woman who runs by the mantra of acceptance. I wonder if she just actually wants to sit there and think about her relationship with her husband rather than thinking about anyone beside her. They had a very long 73-year marriage. I think she'd actually want her connection to be with him, and that's why she'll be sitting by herself.
What do we know about these private arrangements being made by Meghan Markle to honour Prince Philip? We're hearing some
yes,
talk.
I wonder where we're hearing it from. Look, what's happening is that the royal family is producing an online live stream for members of the royal family, lower members that aren't going to the funeral, and friends of the royal family. They they can watch it. It will not have the BBC commentary on it. But I think it would be very interesting to, I mean, I wish we could know what Meghan would be thinking. This is at the chapel that she married at exactly 3 years ago. As she watches her husband and her brother-in-law and sister-in-law walk into this chapel, the family she was part of just 3 years ago, she's now so far away from. I'm sure and I hope it's a time for reflection for her too.
It's going to be a fairly private service, but we saw earlier on that Charles wandered through some of the flowers that have been laid at the gates of Buckingham Palace and the tributes that have been made throughout the UK. It's nice to see this emotion, isn't it?
It is lovely, and I think the fact that they've stepped out, Charles and Camilla, they were very touched by these flowers. The flowers had to be moved from outside Buckingham Palace into Marlborough Gardens, and look, the fact they are out there walking shows, and we've heard him say, in fact, all of the Queen's children have remarked upon how much the public outpouring of memory and grief and celebration of the Duke's life has meant to them. And you know, to do this it's reminiscent of Diana's funeral in a sense for me, because I covered it. But look at that! Look at the beautiful little the Land Rover. But look, you know, I think they are a family in mourning, and but they want to share their grief with the rest of the world.
Thank you so much, Anne. It will be a small funeral for just the 30 people there, but it will be broadcast right around the world. Channel 7, of course, will be covering the funeral on Saturday evening. Check your local guides about what time. It's several hours before the midnight service gets underway. A time of reflection and to look back at the amazing life of Prince Philip. Thanks, Ange.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ange.